Now let's see how to do accounting for salaries and wages. I will explain everything which is pertaining to salaries and wages using an example. Salary details of a company for the year ended 31st March 2021 are given below. I have given you certain information which is pertaining to the salary. First point I have given annual gross wage. Annual gross wage, what you have to remember, it is the wage that is before doing any kind of reduction. Normally when you are getting a salary, your take home salary, it will be after some kind of reductions from your gross wages. So gross wages, what you have to remember, this 10,000 US dollars, it is before doing any kind of reductions. Second point, employees national insurance contribution, if not we will call it as NIC. Another name that we can use for the national insurance contribution, it is social security contribution. It is 10% of the gross wages. Normally from your salary, as employers, they will deduct something called national insurance contribution, which is NIC. This is something that employers will deduct and they will give it for the government. So later on at the time of retirement, something like that, you can get this money for your purposes. So national insurance contribution, it is a reduction done by the employers on behalf of the government. So employers will reduce this money from your gross wage, then they will give it to the government. Later on you can get this money at the age of retirement. And next one, pay as you earn, if not we will call it as payee tax. What you can remember, this one, think like your income tax. This is your income tax. So as you earn, you have to pay a tax. We will call it as pay as you earn. We will call it as payee tax also. It is 8% of the gross wages. So this payee tax also will be deducted from your gross salary. Saving scheme contribution is 5% of the gross wages. In certain organizations, inside the organization itself, they will have certain saving scheme. So what they will tell to the employer, employees will tell to the employers, here see, as my saving, can you deduct 5% from my gross wages? So saving scheme, it is something that you are doing voluntarily. So you are telling to the employer, okay, from my salary deduct 5% for my saving purpose. So saving scheme contribution is how much? 5% of your gross wage. Next one is charity contribution is 2% of the gross wage. Sometimes you can tell to the employer, as the employees, they can tell to the employee, okay, I want to contribute for the charity purpose certain amount from my salary. So can you deduct 2% from my salary and can you contribute it for the charity purpose? So if that is the case, what companies will do, they will deduct that 2% also for the contribution for the charity. So these percentages can change based on the different regions. So here I have taken certain numbers for you all to explain it. Next one is employers national insurance contribution or social security contribution is 15% of the gross wages. For the national insurance contribution, if not for the NIC, here what I have given here, see, employees contribution. Employees contribution means the person who is working. His contribution is how much? It is 10% of the gross wages. As well as keep in your mind employers, that means company. I will write it here. Company also should contribute for the NIC. Here I have given it is 15% of the gross wages. Then I have given 6 information for you. What are the 6 information? Annual gross wage 10,000 US dollars. Annual gross wage is the wage before doing any kind of reductions. From the annual gross wage, there are certain reductions will happen. What are the reductions? One is national insurance contribution reduction. Other one is your pay tax reduction. And if you are voluntarily telling, okay, for the saving scheme reduce some amount, so that reduction. And if you are voluntarily telling, if there is any charity contribution, if you want to give some money for the charity purpose, so that reduction also will be made from your salary. And another point I have given, the 6th point, what's the employer's contribution? So employer's contribution will not be reduced from your salary. From employer's pocket, they will have to pocket out for the national insurance contribution. There are 3 requirements in this question. What is the first requirement? Calculate the salary paid to the employee. So let's calculate the salary. we have discussed your gross wage is the salary or gross wage is the amount before doing any kind of reduction. How much is that? 10,000 US dollars. From the gross wage, what you have to understand, there are certain mandatory reductions and there are certain voluntary reductions. If you ask me what are the mandatory reductions out of these points that I have given to you, employee national insurance contribution is a mandatory reduction, pay tax is a mandatory reduction. So these two are mandatory reductions. So let's do the mandatory reductions first. First one is NIC contribution. NIC contribution is how much? In the question I have given, it is 10% of the gross wages. So this is the employee's contribution. That means the person who is working, his contribution. It is 10%, then 10,000 into 10%, how much we are getting? We are getting a reduction of 1,000 US dollars. And next one is pay reduction. Pay as you earn, if not it is something like your income tax. How much is that percentage? Let's see, it is 8% of your gross wages. Then 10,000 into 8%, how much is the value that we are getting? It is $800 reduction for the pay tax. These two are mandatory reductions. These two are mandatory reductions. And next one is you have to deduct the voluntary contributions. So what are the voluntary contributions that you have? One is the saving scheme contribution 5%. Then I'll reduce that one also. Saving scheme 5%, 10,000 into 5%. Then I am getting a value of 500 reduction, that is for the saving scheme. And you have the charity contribution. Charity contribution, how much is that? Charity contribution is 2% of your gross wages. 10,000 into 2%, how much is that? $200. Then these two are what? These two are voluntary contributions. So these two are mandatory reductions, NIC and payee tax. Saving scheme contribution and charity contribution, those are voluntary reductions. So after reducing everything, what is the salary that you are getting? It is $7,500. So this amount is your net wage or net salary. If not, this is actually your take home salary. From the 10,000 salary, for the national insurance we are deducting 1,000. For the pay tax we are deducting 800. So those two are mandatory reductions. And your voluntary reductions, two things that you have, one is saving scheme contribution, other one is charity contribution. If you have any other kind of loans that you have obtained from the company, so loan installments also can be deducted from your gross wage. Let's assume in certain companies what they are doing, they will give loans for the employees. So if they have taken a loan, normally what they will do, loan installment also will be deducted from the gross wages. So that is something additional learning for you. Then we are done with the 5 adjustments. We have to do the last one adjustment. So that is an adjustment which is not required for the first question, because in the first question what I am asking, calculate the salary paid to the employee. How much is that? $7,500 is the salary paid to the employee. Part B, what I am asking, calculate the amount to be charged for statement of profit or loss. That means for your income statement for the year ended 31st March 2021. In your income statement, as your salary expense, how much expense you have to include. Now what you have to understand, this 10,000 is the salary that I have to pay to the employee. From the employee's salary, I am making certain reductions. For the national insurance contributions, I made that reduction from the employee. On behalf of government, I made that reduction. For the government, I should make that payment. Pay tax also, I have to make the payment for the government. Saving scheme contribution, I have to put that money for the saving scheme. Charity contribution, I have to give that money for the charity. Then what you have to understand, as the company, for me, what is the cost? Actually, the cost is 10,000 US dollars. Even though I am giving salary, the money only 7,500. This 2,500 reduction that I made, that one also I should make the payments for the relevant people or relevant organizations. So what you have to understand, always gross wage is your expense. you can't take your net wage as your expense, because net wage is the amount that you are giving to the employee's hand. Remaining 2500 you have to give it for other organizations. So for the employee you are giving 7500, for other organizations you have to give another 2500. So in total, what is your cost? Your cost is 10,000 US dollars. But that is not the only cost which is company will incur. Why am I telling this? 10,000 is not the only amount the company will incur with regarding to the wages, because here see in the adjustment number 6 I have given employer also should contribute for the national insurance, for the NIC. Employer should contribute, that means company should contribute another 15%. Then this 10,000 also is my expense. Apart from that, for the national insurance contribution for NIC, I have to contribute another 15% as the company. So this 10,000 plus another 15% of my 10,000, that means 15% of the 10,000 means how much? It is $1,500. This 10,000 also I should give, this 1,500 also I should give. So in total my cost is how much? It is 11,500. If I am giving you a proper segregation of this 11,500, listen carefully. 7,500 should be made for the employee. You have to give it for the employee. And there are another 2,500 reductions that we made, mandatory reduction and voluntary reductions. I have to give that 2,500 also for the relevant organizations. And there is another 1,500 amount that I have to pay for the government for the NIC employer contribution, if not company contribution. Then in total, with regarding to the salary, I have to incur how much cost? I have to incur 11,500 cost. Now let's see the journal entries connected with the salaries and wages. Here we calculated the salary expense. How much is that? 11,500. Then your expense increases. It should be a debit record. What is the expense? Salary, or you can name it as wage expense as well. How much is that? $11,500. Now let me record the other journal entries. I am going to start off with the national insurance contribution. So this 1,000 reduction that we made from the employee, we have to pay it for the government. So it is a liability for us. As well as the 1,500 from the company, we have to pocket out that 1,500 for the national insurance contribution. Then from the employee, we deducted 1,000. From our end, that means from the company, we have to give another 1,500 for the national insurance contribution. Then in total, how much we have to pay? We have to pay $2,500. So it's a liability to you. So liability increases, it should be a credit record. What is that liability? National insurance contribution payable value. How much is that? In total, it should be 2,500. Why is that? From employee we deducted 1,000. That one also we should pay. And from the company we have to contribute 1,500. So in total 2,500 we should pay to the government. So it is a credit record. If not, what you can assume, if you have made this payment for the national insurance contribution, if you have made the payment, what has happened? Your cash has been reduced. If your cash has been reduced, if your asset has been reduced, it also should be a credit record. So what you have to remember, if you have to make the payment, if it is a liability, then it is national insurance contribution payable, which is a liability. If not, if you have made the payment, your cash asset has been reduced, so it is a credit record. Because your asset reduces, it should be a credit record. We'll assume here national insurance contribution is not paid yet. We'll assume it as pending payment, so it is going to be a liability. And next one is your payee tax. How much is that? $800. Let's assume this $800 that I deducted from the employee, still I didn't pay to the government. I have to pay it, so that $800 also liability to me. So I'll write it as payee payable. How much is that? For the relevant body I have to pay it. So it is $800. So as I explained you previously, if you have made the payment, you can reduce it from the asset. So reduction of the asset also going to be a credit record. And next one is the amount that you have to give for the savings scheme. This 500 we deducted from the employee. Just because you deducted it, you can't keep it with you as the company. You have to give it for the saving scheme. So it is a payable to you. So payable means it's a liability. Saving scheme payable. How much is that? $500. Again here also, if you have made the payment, you have to reduce the value of the cash. And next one is charity contribution. So this charity contribution also, you have to give it for that particular charity. You can't keep it with you. So it is a liability for you. It is an obligation. Then I'll write it here. Charity contribution payable. How much is that? $200. Then we consider this national insurance contribution that we deducted from the employee, and our contribution. We considered the pay amount, we considered the saving scheme amount, we considered the charity contribution amount. And final adjustment that we have to make, it is the 7,500 payment that I have made for the employee. So if you have made the payment, it should be a credit record because your cash asset has been reduced. If you have made the payment, your cash asset has been reduced, so it should be a credit record. You just keep in your mind, if you have not made the payment yet, it's going to be a liability to you. It is a payable to you because you have to make that payment for your employee. So we'll assume for this question you have made the payment for your employee, this 7,500. If you have made the payment, your cash has been reduced. So cash is an asset. Asset reduction is going to be a credit record. How much is that? $7,500. Now let's see whether my debit side is equal to credit side or not. My debits are 11,500. How much is my credit? NIC 2,500. Here 800 3,300 plus 500 3,800 plus 200 4,000, 4,000 plus 7,500. It is 11,500. That means my debits are equals to credits. Then now let's see the requirements. In the requirement part B, what they are asking, calculate the amount to be charged to statement of profit or loss. How much is that? 11,500, because that is the expense that we are charging for the statement of profit or loss, if not for your income statement. And accounting for salaries and wages. So here I have given you all the journal entries which is connected with the salaries and wages. So I gave you a comprehensive idea about salaries and wages and how to do accounts for salaries and wages using this question. So I would recommend for you, until you get the things properly with the focus, watch this video. If you watch this video with the focus, I am pretty sure you will be perfectly okay with the accounting for salaries and wages. If you like my video, don't forget to like it, share it, and make sure to subscribe my channel.